We are back again for some more Premier League preview action. Let's get this party absolutely started. Get into the chat. Which game you're looking forward to this weekend? We've got a lot of chat today. We're going to be talking Arsenal, Manchester United, and Sean Dyche and his wonderful tactics that could send Liverpool into a bit of a spiral. Welcome to the stream today. Of course, if you are new around here, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's get this party absolutely started. These shows are going to be every single Friday at 12:30. They're your shows, so I want your questions to be dropped into the chat. I want you guys to let me know what you want us to talk about, what you want us to discuss, and all of that good stuff. It's been a good weekend, or good week in the Premier League. Loads of things going on. Manchester United's game with Leeds was brilliant at Old Trafford. An absolute fantastic game for the neutral. But let's just dive straight into the news. A little bit of news that's come out today. The big bit of news that's come out today. Ansu Fati could be on his way to the Premier League. But today we're going to look at why Arsenal shouldn't sign Ansu Fati. Big talking point, big discussion point. But let's dive into the news. Fabrizio Romano reporting on his YouTube channel that the Premier League clubs are tracking Ansu Fati's situation for next summer. Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool will be well informed. Barcelona are currently, they want to keep Ansu. The second half of the season will be crucial. So I think you're looking at those clubs. I don't think Manchester United need a wide left attacker. Liverpool have just bought Cody Gakpo. Arsenal is an interesting proposition. Ansu Fati was one of the best young players in the world of football when he broke through. I remember watching him in the UEFA Youth League. One of the big things about Ansu Fati is his ability in and around the box. He very much is an inside forward, a goal-scoring wide player. A player that's going to, receive the ball in these wide areas and is going to kind of get on the ball and really make things happen. But the most impactful part of his game is in the box, his movement to pick up pockets of space and to finish off. One of the things in the UEFA Youth League that I mentioned, he was always, always in that position for the tap-in. And it seems to be a common theme of his game. He's a very good support player. When one of his teammates has broken the opposition line, cut into the box, slid it back, Fati is always going to be there to put the ball into the back of the net. So it's one of these players that I think will do well in his career. But for Arsenal, is he quite right? That's the question that we're going to answer today. And I think one of the things for me is Arsenal and their squad, they've built it in such a good way that I don't believe they need right now a number 9 or a left winger, which Ansu Fati, plays. If you look at the Arsenal squad, Jesus was signed in the summer. An incredible first quarter of the season from Gabriel Jesus. The tenacity, the ability to win the ball back just changed Arsenal. It changed the atmosphere. And I think one of the, the biggest things for a number 9, you expect them to score goals, but the press improved tenfold with Gabriel Jesus. And that momentum was continued with Eddie Nketiah through the middle. Of course, Eddie Nketiah, more of a natural goal scorer than someone like a Gabriel Jesus. The other thing with Arsenal's squad, we're looking at Arsenal as a team from a director of football position. We've got to analyse what else they've got in and around. So let's take a look at their squad on SofaScore. So Arsenal, as you mentioned there, in terms of the number 9 position. So this is Ansu Fati coming in and playing as a number 9 for Arsenal. I think one of the big things we've got to kind of look at and discuss. We spoke about Jesus. We spoke about Eddie Nketiah. Martinelli could always play that position as well. And they've just bought Trossard in from Brighton, who played as a false 9 this season. Did it superbly well in a number of Premier League games. But the other thing that Arsenal need to consider when looking in the market for attackers is Balogun and his form. Balogun's been brilliant for Reims this season in Liga. He's been absolutely sensational through the middle. Scored more goals than any other player in Liga this season. He's on 14 goals in 21 games. And you've got to look at that and his development. 21 years old now. He's kind of ready for the squad. And he's ready to kind of take that step up. Obviously under Will Still at Stade Reims, they played great football. He's scored a lot of really good goals. Recent game in Ligue 1 hat-trick against Lorient. Lorient are never a pushover side. They've always been a good side through, my time in studying that league. Enzo Lefebvre, we'll hear a lot more about this fella in the summer. He is going to go for some big cash. But Balogun, performance, hat-trick. But the thing that I loved about this performance is the amount of XG that he amassed, 2.76. He had 11 shots in the game. This guy is ready to come back. So we're going back to the Arsenal proposition. Should they sign Ansu Fati as a number 9? I think we've just basically worked out there. Arsenal have got 3 number 9s in Nketiah, Balogun and Gabriel Jesus. And then you've got Martinelli who can play in that position and Trossard that could play in that position as well. It doesn't make sense for Ansu Fati to join to play as a number 9. So moving on to the other position that he's kind of made a name for, it is on the left wing. I don't think he's great on that right-hand side. I think he's, a player that is better coming in onto a stronger right foot. So is he the right man for the left wing? I'd say yes, because of the structure for Arsenal. With Saka being an inverted winger, looking to create chances at the back post, having someone that can finish moves off on the left-hand side with Gabriel Jesus' ability to drop off, makes sense. You put that out there from a tactical perspective, it makes sense. But when you look at Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli, I'd argue that both of those players have a dual threat. What I mean with dual threat is not only will they score goals and put the ball in the back of the net, but they'll make things happen in the carry, in the dribble. One of the big things, coming out of the statistics this week, when we're looking at those two players and how they can create things and score goals. The stats with Saka, let's start off, who's ranked second in the Premier League for goal creating actions with 15. Then you've got Martinelli and Odegaard with 11 apiece. Martinelli makes things happen. He scores, he assists, he contributes in such a way that I believe it's a little bit higher than what we've got of Ansu Fati. Not to mention just the goal stats and the goal creating stats, but in the Premier League, progressive carries, Saka's number 1 in the league. Martinelli's number 2, carries into the penalty area. Saka's number 1, Martinelli's number 2. Progressive passes received. That's, of course, those line breakers that are so important to unlock a shape. Saka number 1, Martinelli number 2. You've got to spend the time developing Gabriel Martinelli. And I think bringing someone like Ansu Fati, similar age, almost similar style. I'd rather go Martinelli every single day of the week. He's completed 33 dribbles in the Premier League this season. No players manage more. So from that squad perspective, doesn't really make sense. From a player perspective, Arsenal have got good options at 9 and on the left wing. The biggest thing, though, with Ansu Fati is his injury record has been pretty rotten over the last, few seasons, which isn't really his fault. I think his first injury was his knee blowing up at Barcelona. So knee problems in the 2019-20 season. So we're talking almost 4 years ago. He did his knee the first time in 2019. You've then got that issue where that has been a reoccurrence. There's been reoccurrence of that injury, throughout his time. And now his hamstrings are kind of causing problems. There is that long-term issue with someone like Ansu Fati. This season he's been fit. Xavi's not used him from a tactical perspective. He's been available. He's been in and around the squad. But it's can you play Ansu Fati for 40, for 50 games in a season that is required of a player in European football right now? I'd probably argue maybe not. And that's kind of the sad position with Ansu Fati. He's only started 7 games in La Liga this season, scored 3 goals and got 3 assists. A lot of his good games have come in the Spanish Cup or the Spanish Super Cup. Played quite well against Real Sociedad off the bench, I believe, earlier on in the season. Or was this a start for him? Yeah, it was off the bench. So off the bench, kind of big impact off the bench from Ansu Fati. Goal and 2 assists. And we can kind of see by his heat map how he is quite active in that penalty area. He is basically a poacher that plays wide left. And I do believe as well, Barcelona are going to be wanting a lot of cash for Ansu Fati. And Arsenal should be maybe looking at who's the replacement for Thomas Partey long term. Is someone like Caicedo still a big target for Arsenal? They need to look for the future of the football club. Maybe that's not quite there. Anyway, guys, going to jump into the chat. You put in some good suggestions here. Abdi, Ansu Fati has more potential for sure. It was one injury that went wrong for him when he went under surgery, so obviously a big issue there. GS in the chat. We are missing out on we were I think the way we are missing out on our primary target, we could miss Rice. So most probable a backup. I think with Rice, I think Arsenal in pole position for Rice. I think that Caicedo isn't a backup. Other players have obviously been linked with Arsenal and playing in defensive midfield. The one player that keeps on coming up is Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. Very nice technical midfielder. He's a classic kind of Spanish deep line playmaker. Quite likened to Busquets. Quite likened to a Rodri type player. Maybe not as aggressive as Rodri. Does keep the game ticking over very nicely. Wins his tackles. Gets on the ball. Basically plays a little bit like that holding midfield position in front of Real Sociedad's back four. He's another one that's been linked. He is a replacement that could be brought in if Declan Rice moves to a Chelsea or moves to a Man United. So yeah, he's definitely an option. Would be a lot cheaper than Declan Rice. So maybe if they do go for Ansu Fati Arsenal, then he could be the replacement in central midfield. And I think with overall in the Fati chat, I just don't think it's the right move for Arsenal right now. I think they need to improve their defensive midfield. Is the next level of improvement. I think with the quality in the squad. We're not even talking about players like Smith Rowe, who are still to come back, and also Abdi make a very good suggestion in the chat. Reece Nelson. There's a few players there that you'd argue that, would be ahead of Fati in the pecking order if he were to come in. George in the chat, thanks for getting involved, guys. Do get all your points in. Arsenal don't need Fati. We need a right winger to rotate with Saka and a party replacement, like you said, yeah. I do think Fabio Vieira could be that option on the right wing. Spoke quite a lot about my love of Fabio Vieira. I think he's a brilliant player. He's a player that's sort of quite different to Saka. He's that kind of like creative passing player versus Saka maybe being more direct in his dribbling. But yeah, that could be a good option. Obviously, Fabio Vieira long term, I'd love to see him in that central midfield area for Arsenal. I think that'd be a really good position for him. Obviously, if Arsenal kind of change the slight makeup of their side, go maybe more to a traditional 4-3-3 with Fabio Vieira playing on the same line as Odegaard, I think that'd be really, really good for them. Frank Kessie from Barcelona would be a great party replacement. Abdi, so Frank Kessie would be a really good Granit Xhaka replacement. I think with players like Frank Kessie, you want them to play forward. You want them to be kind of getting involved at higher up the pitch. You want them to be, adopting those high positions in the opposition's half. And I think that kind of would suit really nicely for Arsenal as a replacement. We can see the recent game against Sevilla. So basically Busquets came off after around 8 minutes in this game. Kessie came on as a substitute, and he basically started in the deep midfield position and then would move into attacking midfield from the average positions. Let's take a look from... What number is he? What number is Frank Kessie? Is he 19? So number 19 for Arsenal. For Arsenal? For Barcelona, number 19. Could see how high his heat map is, taking a lot of those high positions. Love this kind of visualization from SofaScore, really nice. But you can kind of see that he's in the opposition half. He's he's contributing in an attacking area, very similar to what Granit Xhaka does for Arsenal. He's playing high, it's getting involved. He got an assist in this game, brilliant assist, by the way. Held the ball up in the box, lovely little spin, nice little dinko. Oh, it was great football. I'm a big fan of Frank Kessie. I think he's wasted at Barcelona. He'd be fantastic for Manchester United. He is that perfect player that United need, that Arsenal need. That Granit Xhaka deep to high position, that Christian Eriksen deep to high position. Brian, thoughts on Manu Kone for party backup? Again, Manu Kone is more of the same player as Frank Kessie, same players as Xhaka. He's more box to box in my opinion. I think Arsenal, the two targets for that defensive midfield position. Again, it's going to cost a lot of money, but they've got to be, either going to Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, or it's, it's buying Declan Rice, or go the other way to get to him. Declan Rice or buying Caicedo. I think in a way, you've got to really invest in your defensive midfielder. It's such a key position for teams at the moment. But looking at Koulibaly, Manu Kone's positioning, it is low to high, low to high, low to high. Again, kind of low to high, getting involved in the build-up, but then contributing in the final third. So it's that like mixed position, if that makes sense. Abdi, I'd love him at AC Milan. Vieira is more of a left 8, I think. That's a fair shout. We're having a little issue with the old tactics pad at the moment. But yeah, Tielemans as a replacement to Xhaka. Yeah, I think so. But the one thing that I say with Tielemans when I watched him recently is he's playing a lot lower at the moment for Leicester City. I think he could play that role for Arsenal. But he would do it in a slightly different way. Benassia would be a great option for both the 6 and the 8 position for Arsenal. You know, I think those are the types of players that do make a lot of sense and have real quality. Quality in possession, quality on the ball. And Benassia's been playing in a double pivot with a number of different players this season. Tonelli was last season mainly. So it's kind of who's his partner and what position does he play. You know, if he's with a Tonelli, it's kind of he'll play a little bit more box to box, and Tonelli will hold a little bit deeper. Whereas if he's playing in this midfield as we're seeing now with Diaz starting at number 10 and Bega in midfield, he's going to play more of that attacking role. But I think Arsenal, I think the good thing with Arsenal is there's a lot of options. There is a lot of options for Arsenal in that kind of defensive midfield 8 role. I think there's less options in the 6 role. So from a value perspective, you want to spend more money on that 6 to replace Thomas Partey in that long term. And then you want to be bringing that 8 in that could be moved around. Charles in the chat, thanks for getting involved, everyone. Benassia was also an Arsenal Academy player, absolutely. Charles in the chat, would Rice be better suited as an 8 or as a 6 for Arsenal? So Charles, I think with Rice, he's obviously playing slightly higher these days for West Ham, but I do think it's that defensive midfield position that is ultimately better suited for his game. That's not to say that he can't play as an 8. That's not to say that he can be aggressive, but I just like a lot of parts of his game where, he's tackling, he's intercepting, he's winning the ball back, he's being that real core centre point for West Ham, for England as well. And I feel that's just a little bit better use of his skill set than, let's say, him playing as more of a box-to-box midfielder. I'd kind of prefer him in that, deeper position, I would say. Kante is free in the summer. I wouldn't buy N'Golo Kante. Injuries is a concern. Abdi, big wages, injuries, not going to quite work out for me. Charlie Pantino will first team next summer. I think he needs another few years of development. Some good low moves, I think, would be really good for him. Guys, if you are around here as well, do share the stream. Do smash that like button as well. Tell all your pals about it. Get the people into the chat because we're just about to dive in to the football. Of course, we're going to start with Arsenal. They've got a game against arguably one of their bogey teams in the Premier League. After that Everton defeat it's going to be a really interesting game, this one. Brentford are in scintillating form. Brentford haven't lost a Premier League game since October. Newcastle are the only team with a longer unbeaten run than Brentford. And we're also, when you're looking at Brentford, since the Premier League restart after the World Cup, only Manchester United have earned more points than Brentford. They are in great form. They are absolutely flying at the moment. Beat Southampton last week, 3-0. Super convincing. And I think the other thing with this as well is that, there was other players other than Tony being the guy and being the guy that's creating, being the guy that's linking the play, scoring the goals, getting the assists. I think Brentford need to move away from him being the sole creator, sole goal scorer in the final third. And we actually saw that against Southampton. Brian Mbeumo was brilliant on the right-hand side. He's a player of really good promise. At 23, I think we forget it. How young he is because he's been in the Championship for so long. He's been with Brentford for so long. But he's got big talent. Again, another left-footed right attacker. Goal and assist against Southampton. 3 shots, 3 chances created. Really good output. I think the one concern for Arsenal going into this game, would be that kind of Brentford's 4-5-1 and the compactness of those 2 lines. Because that was something that Everton did so well the week before against Arsenal. They really controlled the game. Jumping back into the chat, Ted, this is SofaScore, one of the greatest apps in the world. Make sure you go and give it a download. It is a 10 out of 10 application. Other questions coming in. Odegaard said in their training post, Everton was the best they've seen. Confidence is flying from David Ralph. Thanks for getting involved. Jali Vieira was man of the match against Brentford. Was playing as an out-and-out number 10. That's his best position. Ewan, good to see you, my good friend. Top-tier application in there. Abdi, did Man City have a sell-on clause on Pedro Porro? Absolutely. I think they did, yeah. So back to the kind of tactical side. Brentford are playing a bit more of a 4-5-1 at the moment, which is a concern for Arsenal. Because that's obviously how Everton completely blocked off those wide areas, in their last Premier League game. Very much was a Sean Dyche 4-5-1. The way the midfield and the wide players, protected the defence was sublime. And, one of the things that we spoke about on Monday's Premier League review, again, make sure you watch all the Premier League reviews every Monday, drop in around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We spoke about how Arsenal struggled to create 1v1 situations that Saka and Martinelli can get the best of. A key component to Arsenal is those wide players. They're getting the ball, they're creating the stats we already gave you before about how they're carrying into the final third, how they're creating chances. Very, very important for Arsenal. So to basically kill their creative part of their team by doubling up on them like Everton did with Iwobi and Dwight McNeil protecting the two fullbacks was simply sublime. It really kind of cut that flow down for them. And just to give you a bit of an idea of kind of what I'm talking about, we'll have a look at some of that analysis from Monday's stream, and we'll have a little quick look, see if we can just jump onto this. Where did we have Monday's streams? Let's jump into that. Back up here. And we can dive in. So I'll just give you a little bit of a visual cue for it of how it kind of it looked and how it kind of went down. Where have we got? There we go. And then we're in these types of positions. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see if this works. There we go. So what I'm talking about Arsenal and the kind of the issues that Arsenal had. So with the defensive shape, we can clearly see 4, 5, and then the one striker up front. So the big concern for Arsenal is when teams do this to them. So when teams double up on Saka and they double up on Martinelli on the other side, Arsenal need to find creative solutions. This happened over and over and over in the game. We saw it on the right-hand side, seen it on the left-hand side. This is exactly how Brentford play when they play 4-5-1. So Arsenal needs to come up with these solutions. The only place that Arsenal could really go was on the outside. Hence why I suggested that, look, playing maybe a Gabriel on the right and a Saka on the left to go natural foot on the outside could make sense. But that didn't happen in the match enough. There was too many times where when the wide players received, they looked to dribble inside and they got shut down by Everton's, workman-like wide players. Over and over again, even if Arsenal broke that with Saka on the nutmeg, there was really good play from both Decore, Garner Gay and Onana to get out and shut the ball down. And that was the concern, that not only did they have the players doubling up on the wide players, but they had this beautiful screen as well in front of their back four. So big credit to Sean Dyche. But in terms of solutions, we're not here to criticise. We're here to find solutions on this channel. Reason why you guys need to smash that sub button. Solutions. Number 1, underlaps. Natural foot on the outside. So when I'm talking Martinelli on the right-hand side, envisage this is Gabriel Martinelli down here. So naturally, he's going to be able to play that ball in behind the defence on his right foot easier than a left footer that's going to be, the pass is naturally going to swing away versus it being rounded and into the path on the run. So number 1, we need to see more from, Odegaard making those underlaps and Granit Xhaka making the underlaps, which leads me on to Fabio Vieira. Fabio Vieira, game against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the Premier League this season, one of his best performances, 2-0 win. If you remember, came off the bench early doors, went into midfield, got an assist, making the underlap on that left-hand side. So if Saka is on the other side of the pitch, again, visualise this for me, guys. If Saka's on the other side of the pitch, it's the same thing where Saka's natural pass is better for the underlap. if that makes sense. So moving on, that's obviously one solution. Another solution is to utilise the underlap after driving inside, if you want to keep the wingers on the sides that they've been playing on, if you don't want to switch them. And then number 2 is the rotation in positions. So one of the things we spoke about was maybe the use of a Jorginho in defensive midfield and then playing Zinchenko as a natural wing-back, forcing Martinelli inside. Because what we saw in this move on 54 minutes was probably Arsenal's best attacking play. Martinelli receiving in more of an inside forward position, supporting the play, receiving into feet with, let's say, a Zinchenko in the wide area, cutting across the pitch and then supporting the attack. Not only did Arsenal not really underlap enough, but they didn't get into these inside positions to cross enough. And you can see the overload on the back post. So there's loads that Arsenal can do against this kind of 5-4-1, but it's still incredibly difficult to break down. So what we're saying there, more underlaps from the inside players, from the 2 central midfielders, and then more crosses after the penetrations come, and players receiving in that inside forward position. Charles in the chat. Trossard left wing could go on the outside on the left foot. Yeah, obviously he's a very, very two-footed player. He scored more goals with his left foot than any other player in the Premier League this season, with 6 goals with his weaker left foot. So very much, yeah, Trossard could be a good solution for this weekend. I don't want that to happen because he's Martinelli's in my fantasy team, but I do think that's a good solution. Trossard this season scored some really good goals on his left foot after going left. Trying to think which game was the one where it was on the left foot. Maybe Chelsea. Was it the Chelsea game? Man City game? Might have been the Leicester game, actually. Yeah, it was the Leicester game, I think. He was playing as like a wing back and then received, beyond the opposition's midfield and then cut inside and cut on the outside, and scored. So yeah, Trossard could be a very good solution here, Charles. And I love Martinelli. I think Martinelli is absolutely brilliant. But maybe a chance to bring him in. Ewan, I did Martinelli to Saka this week. We need to catch up on all things fantasy football because I'm back, Ewan. All right, spent some time messing about, Ewan, but I am back, baby. But that's a good transfer. I'll show you my master plan at some point. So it's a good one. It's a real good one. But yeah, Trossard could be a good solution to this. I like that idea. I like that point from Charles in the chat. So do get all your points into the chat and let me know. So again, I think that's going to be the way that Arsenal are going to have to unlock the door against a real stubborn Brentford defence. It's going to be tough with the 4-5-1. I don't think they'll play free at the back. I think it will be a 4-5, and then they'll do similar things to Everton did, because obviously Everton beat Arsenal. Arsenal have been brilliant this season, so you've got to take something from that. Only 130 points plus to catch up. Look, how many did you catch up on Ali Bruce Ball last season, Ewan? 140. You're in range. Don't you worry, my brother. Arnold in the chat. I doubt Arsenal will settle on Trossard as competition for Martinelli because he's simply not better, but I agree Ansu is not the answer. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Martinelli's the guy. Brian, Martinelli needs Gabriel Jesus back. I genuinely don't think Martinelli's playing that badly recently. He's got a lot of criticism in the games, but I don't, he's not sticking out like a sore thumb of playing badly. I didn't think Arsenal were really good. Were good against City. I didn't think they played well at all. They didn't really show what they've been doing this season. Thought Everton just had a really good game plan of stopping both wide players. So I believe his form will return, but put him out aside for a week could be a good way for Arteta to get the best out of him. Talking about Brentford, some other Brentford statistics. Brentford have scored 2 goals following defensive actions in the Premier League this season. No teams manage more, so that's something that Arsenal need to be very, very aware of. Is Brentford winning the ball high or winning the ball in the middle and then breaking and scoring? But Arsenal have created 12 shots from defensive actions this season. So, and only Spurs have won the ball back and created more than them in the Premier League. So there's that duality of it there. So, Arsenal have, got that level. Only Spurs, Man City, Arsenal have scored more goals than Brentford. So they aren't afraid from those moments. But the big thing, though, with Arsenal, they are a very tough team to break down. They've got the lowest expected assists against in the Premier League, and they've only conceded 17 goals this season, with only Newcastle conceding fewer goals than Arsenal. The one part of which could be interesting is set pieces. Arsenal have been brilliant attacking and defending set pieces in the last 2 years. With only West Ham conceding fewer goals from set pieces this season than Arsenal. West Ham have conceded 1 goal from set pieces. Arsenal have only conceded 3. But the other side with that is, on the flip side, only 3 teams have scored more goals than Brentford. So set pieces could be big in this match as well. Guys, giving you all the talking points, all the statistics. Get into the chat. Your score predictions. It's the first one for this week. And again, share the stream, smash the like button, all that good stuff. Jelly in the chat. Playing Trossard as a wing-back would be good. I don't think Arsenal are going to move away from their 4-3-3 shape. So I think it would be more of a attacking wide player. But again, I love Trossard as a wing-back. It's beautiful. Get your score predictions in, guys. I'll throw some more stats here, such as Ethan Pinnock has made more clearances than any other player in the Premier League this season with 118. In terms of how I think this is going to go, this is going to be a real stubborn game for Arsenal. Like a real stubborn one. And I kind of agree with Ewan in the chat. 2-1 Arsenal kind of rings a bit of a bell for me. I think Brentford have got a lot going forward in Burmo and Tony. And also you think about, they have got previous against Arsenal. You know, remember that first game of the season, the 2-0 win for Brentford. The aggression, the pressing was fantastic from them. But then since then, obviously, Arsenal have kind of got the beating of them. But last time they played at the Emirates, it was 2-1. Smith Rowe, Saka. I remember that first half was a bit dodgy. Wasn't a great first half. But I think that's the idea for Arsenal, is to, you know, get those attacking creative players on the ball. Earlier on in the season, obviously, Arsenal beat Brentford 3-0, and Gabriel Jesus was a man possessed in that match. Unfortunately, won't be fit for the game. But back in training this week. So any Gunners in the chat, it's got to be some good news. Brian's going to go 2-1 Arsenal. Stan's going to go 2-1 Arsenal. The team has a point to prove. And obviously, I can't remember who said it in the chat, but some of the best training this week following the Everton defeat from Martin Odegaard. Crypto FBL is going to go 3-0 to Arsenal. But I would definitely think about starting Fabio Vieira. I really would. I think Fabio Vieira, Odegaard, Partey midfield for this game. Arsenal need those underlaps. They need that fluidity. That's what I would be going with. Fabio Vieira maybe starting as a sort of attacking mid, Odegaard a little bit deeper in central midfield in the defensive sense, and then them rotating round, 2 playing in attacking midfield together. Fabio Vieira and Odegaard as two partners. 2 partners in midfield, the 2 wide players. Wide player, striker. So I'd like to see. I think that creativity, getting that creativity closer to goal as well for Arsenal. With Eddie Nketiah, you know, he's more of that kind of goal-scoring player than a link player. You know, needs service. Really needs service. So having those 2 attacking mids in there will work well. Akil in the chat, 1-1. If Arsenal don't score in the first half. And Rush Naf is going to go 4-1 to Arsenal. Great score predictions, guys. Any more chat about the game, do get it into the chat. Let's move on to Manchester United's match on Sunday with Leeds United. Luckily, I have a ticket to that game, and I can't wait. I did Leeds United away back in about 2009. What an experience that was. But yeah, got a ticket for the game this weekend. I cannot wait. Very, very excited. The match midweek was brilliant. If you guys haven't seen this, this was a proper gegenpressing, like top-level football match. And Leeds out the blocks very, very fast in both halves. Really, really fast in both halves. And it caught United arguably not ready for the game. It caught them ready, not ready in a situation where they felt shell-shocked. And one of the things that Leeds did really, really well was, press Manchester United out of the back. They pressed them superbly well. And we've got to give Leeds credit for that. So let's take a look at that first goal and how United could have adjusted. I think one of the biggest things, it was almost naive for Manchester United to not think the Leeds were going to do this. Like, naivety. Like, the first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, this Leeds team are aggressive. it felt like they weren't ready for that. And Erik ten Hag mentioned that in his press conference, post-game comment, weren't ready for the battle. And that's something that United need to address straight away. Allen Road is going to be rocking on Sunday. United need to silence the crowd. They need to be ready to go. So let's take a look at the first goal. Obviously, United building up, as they do many times, with the back three, consisting of Diogo Dalot, Rafael Varane, and Lisandro Martinez. One of the really interesting things from Leeds in this match is they were super, super aggressive on Lisandro. Like, so aggressive on him, pressing him at every single moment. And then they were kind of giving Rafael Varane the ball. They were allowing Rafael a little bit more time on the ball to come out, knowing that they could probably, have all the options closed off and then make the interception or win the ball. But let's roll through this little moment here. So, again, the pressing, blocking off the pass to Lisandro Martinez, filtering Rafa Varane, either playing to Diogo Dalot so he can press straight away or making him play through the middle. So again, good pressing from Leeds. You can see that from Patrick Bamford there. Brilliant shape on his pressing. Again, really important, the shape, if any young players out there. The shape is so important because you're cutting one of the passing options off and you're basically dealing with two players. So not only are you taking Lisandro out of the game, but you're putting pressure on the ball. Fantastic from Patrick Bamford, which forces Varane into that kind of sideways pass. There's no other options. If he does go to the wide player or so forth, there is an issue. The one thing I would say right now, where is Fred? We are literally 30 seconds into the game. Leeds are going to squeeze high. That you're going to have to put more bodies in the build-up. Where is Fred? That's a concern for me right now. And United progress it back, goes to Diogo Dalot, back to David De Gea, and then back to Rafael Varane. That is a really good phase of pressing. We don't give teams credit enough for these types of phases, but that phase of pressing is perfect. They absolutely controlled it. They have dictated where Man United are playing, which is the whole important reason for pressing. If Fred, as we mentioned there, if Fred is sat on the blind side of Nonto, you have an outball. These are the things that United need to think a little bit more about. I love that they build in a 3-1, but at times you have to build in a 3-2. Arsenal building a 3-2. They're top of the Premier League. Chad in the chat. Fati suit United? Nah, United have got too many players that play his position. Rashford, Garnacho, Sancho. Don't make sense for me signing Fati, especially with the wages and so forth. But anyway, back to that kind of David De Gea in possession. Drops it off to Varane. Same thing happens again. Bamford's going to, phase to sort of bend his arches run to put pressure on the ball to Rafael Varane. Closes the play down. We can see the reason why there. He's blocked the pass off into Lisandro. Again, the only option for Varane is to carry forward and play sideways again. This is the situation that Leeds are creating. That the pressing is fantastic. Really, really good. It's asking questions of Manchester United, which leads United to play into a phase that Leeds want to be there. The whole thing with pressing on flanks is you're aggressive with your wide player, you're aggressive with your fullback. It's a perfect pressing situation. You're pressing with a player receiving with his back to goal in this moment. Bruno drops in to receive. Again, same question. Where is Fred? We are right at the start of the game. We have to earn the right to play. Where is Fred? When we're building with Casemiro and Eriksen, those two players are always in the build-up. Majority of the times, especially in the first parts of games. And this is a little frustrating. The issue for Varane, obviously, trying to become a ball-playing option, but he's got Jack Harrison on his back. Marcel Sabitzer is trying to move over to support the ball. But we could see Leeds have got a massive overload in numbers. Humongous overload in there. And it's not even the fullback that's dealing with Bruno. Actually, McKennie has come over to put pressure on the football, but fantastic defensive setup from Leeds United. Overloading that zone of the ball. They'll be able to deal with all the passing options and they win the ball back. Bruno tries to carry inside. Good tackle one. And then United have a massive problem. They're in the possession shape. Rafael Varane is moved into midfield to be a ball supporter. And it's the first time we've seen Fred. It is the first time we've seen Fred in this entire move. Which, a minute 20 into the game, you're a defensive midfielder, get on the ball. Simple little 1-2. The give and go, fantastic. Again, it's a great goal. Nonto is a fantastic little player. I absolutely love what he is. The creativity, the spark, the aggression off the ball, his size as well. Considering he's, what is he, 19 or 20? Let's get the age right, David. 19 years old. The strength, the size of him is brilliant. And, finishes it off. Brilliant finish into the bottom corner. United 1-0 down. But there are moments where Fred is in attacking midfield. Like, a simple solution to this problem. Build with a 3-2. Have a defensive midfielder in here. Or have a wing back tucking inside. But I personally think a defensive midfielder in here. You want a player that can scrap. You want a player that's good under pressure in those central positions. I'd have your wing backs wide as they are. And then I'd have... wing back inside there. But yeah, you'd have a wide player on the right-hand side. But yeah, definitely 100% Fred in that position. And that's what Man United need to do. They need to adjust their approach because they just didn't do that, especially in that first half. It was a really difficult game for United to get out, and it was credit to Leeds United. Real credit to Leeds United. United did come back into the game. Rashford finished off a really good move. Brilliant header, Diogo Dalot cross, second assist of the Premier League this season. Ranked number 3 for right backs in terms of assists this season. He's had time out injured. So it was a good display coming back into the game. I thought Marcel Sabitzer really grew. And that's the other thing with Fred. The start of the game, Marcel Sabitzer's first minutes as a Man United player. And yeah, look, he excelled as the game went on. But Fred's got to be more responsible at the start. He really, really does. Got to be more responsible. It was a very irresponsible game from Fred. And these chaotic games, you expect Fred to excel, but he absolutely struggled throughout the 90 minutes. A man that didn't, Marcel Sabitzer. 3 chances created in the game, 41 passes completed, 1 big chance created, 3 shots, and he scored a great goal. 2 interceptions, a block, and 3 clearances. He's going to have a great career at United. Brilliant signing. Excited to see more of him. But also with Jadon Sancho coming off the bench, that was a lovely, moment as well. Scored, got the equaliser, created 3 chances, completed 92% of his passes, but looked fresh, looked ready to go. And big credit to Erik ten Hag and kind of getting him there and getting to that point. The big thing, obviously, with United, without Casemiro, they are a worse side. It's evident. He has been incredible for United. He really has. But United have also been very good. 17 points since the Premier League restart. No team has managed more. No team has scored more goals than United since the restart. And obviously, Sir Marcus of Rashford has been a key guy for that. Only needs 3 more goals to beat his 19-20 goal tally of 22 in all comps. That was his best ever season. He's already matched his best ever non-penalty season in the Premier League with 11. He has been absolutely sublime. Superb. Question from AK Hill in the chat. Dave, do you think Man United will play counter-attacking football on Sunday, give possession to Leeds? No. I think that it's set for it to be the same game, but United need to find those possession solutions. I think Leeds United are a counter-attacking team. They are direct, so, it'd be difficult to give them the ball, but I think counter-attacking moments could be good for Manchester United. What United didn't utilise enough was the pace of the wide players, moving from wide to in. It's a way to get to goal very, very quickly. And if a team presses you, as Leeds do, so high, why not play a few balls over the top? Pull their defence back, opens up more space. Get Rashford in behind. United have played more through balls than any other team apart from City in the league this season. 49 through balls. No, sorry. Man United are number 1 now. Sorry, the stats have changed, Dave. United are number 1. 49 through balls in the Premier League. Need to see more of that against Leeds with the high shape. Only City have played more switches than Man United in the league. Again, that's another thing. Not only do we need to stretch Leeds United with balls in behind, with runs from out to in, but we also need to stretch Leeds in that sense of switching the play, over the block. And a big reason why I like Sabitzer is his ability to do that even. And yes, United should have signed Sabitzer in the summer. And they should sign him this summer as well. He'll be a really good squad player. I really do believe that. But also will come in the next few weeks to deputise for Christian Eriksen's injury. And that'll be really, really good. Bruno Fernandes is a player that could have won the game for United. His through balls this season, he's played 15 of them. Only KDB's managed more. But the interesting side with obviously Jadon Sancho and his creativity, a surprising stat that I found out this week, Jadon Sancho's got 0.64 goal creating actions per 90. That actually ranks him 6th in the Premier League, behind the Man City quartet of Mahrez, Grealish, Foden and KDB, and Saka. So per 90, Jadon Sancho is making things happen. He's creating goals. So it'd be good to potentially see him from the start and Rashford through the middle. I thought they linked up really well as well. With Rashford driving into that left channel and Sancho finding him. The one concern with Sancho pre all the things that have happened from a tactical perspective is United weren't getting bodies around him, which I think now with Sancho out there and with Rashford playing in that zone, with Shaw being closer, you'll get a better Jadon Sancho. So that's definitely something going forward that United need to do. Radu, hey Dave, which would be Sabitza's shortcomings in Erik Ten Hag's system in your point of view? I don't think there's many shortcomings, to be quite honest. I think he carries well, he tackles well, switches well. There's a lot of things that he does exceedingly well. The one thing I would potentially say is he's not an elite level carrier, and we know that Erik Ten Hag loves that in that midfield. Look at his Ajax teams. You've got, your first one, your Lasse Schöne, De Jong, Donny van der Beek. Frankie De Jong was the carrier. United have now have had Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno. There isn't a carrier in there. Similar with, Bruno, Sabi and Casemiro. There's not someone that carries the ball. You look at the second great team for Ten Hag at Ajax, Gravenberch, player to carry the football. Kenneth Taylor now would have been the next guy for him. So I think there's definitely someone in the long term, Radu, that would suit it better. But I do think that there's not many shortcomings for Sabitzer. He's a very rounded player, which I really like. Shoots, great. Box to box. There's a lot to like about Marcel Sabitzer. There really is. Radu, team selection for United. Lindelof in midfield. I don't want to see Lindelof in midfield. This is a very, very fast game. This is a game for a player that's played in midfield his entire life, not a midfielder that played a little bit at youth level and has played centre-back. I think with Lindelof, maybe better him playing as sort of a half-back against weaker teams to create that back three for United and push the wing-backs even higher. But yeah, no, Radu, I don't massively like Lindelof in central midfield. I agree Fred was pretty rotten in the match, but I'd rather see Fred than Lindelof. United need massive, reinforcements in the summer in central midfield. I really believe that still. You need to have a top quality selection of midfielders. And Sabitzer should be part of that. He really should be part of that. Garnacho start again for United on left wing. Sancho right wing. Rashford through the middle. Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be good. I think Anthony needs to be back. Games like Leeds, I think, is where we go, whoa. So Anthony provides a pretty good job for the team because he's a natural right winger. And it gives United balance. It allows your Rashfords to play left or striker, Garnacho on the left. Playing one of them on the right, it always seems a little bit funky. So yeah, I think Anthony being back is crucial. The news for his injuries, let's take a little look at that, see if there's any updates. For that, Anthony, yeah, he should be back this weekend. I think he'll be big. Anthony versus Leeds, perfect player. 1v1. Leeds isolate their players 1v1 to win duels. Get him in there. Radu, I don't see an elite level carrier in the market. Frankie loves Barca. Bellingham seems to be set for City or Liverpool. Maybe Rice at 8. I think there's definitely players out there. Manu Kone's a favourite of mine. Caicedo is another favourite of mine that could play that role for Manchester United. They're two real progressive players, progressive carriers. Maybe need to develop their goal scoring, I'd say, in this role. This position, you basically need to have a player that's complete in the sense they create, they tackle, they need to, they do everything in midfield, but carrying is a big strength of theirs. Let's take a quick look at see if there's any other midfielders that we've not spoke about recently that could potentially come in and play that. So progressive carries in European football. Let's see who we've got at the top of the list. Sumar in the chat. Sancho dragged a lot of players towards him, then calmly passes the ball. So it reminds me of the holes that didn't exist. Also, Anthony naturally covers in defence on the right flank, useful in counters. Yeah, some good points there. So let's get some midfielders. Yeah. Seiko Fofana's obviously come up. Absolute elite level ball carrier. Love to see Seiko Fofana, a top European side. That'd be nice. Enzo Lefebvre could be one. Work in progress. Would be a good youth signing. 23 years old. Has the ability on the carry. Can drive through. Maybe not as dominant as other players, but footballing-wise, a brilliant footballer. See how involved he is in the Lorient play. 2 chances created, but had 113 touches of the football. 6 out of his 8 long balls. Completed 4 out of his 5 dribbles. Won 6 out of his 9 tackles. He is someone that has got big talent. Massive talent in midfield. And the other one that needs some respect on his name is Big Branco van den Boomen. Brilliant talent. Numbers against PSG. Scored a goal, created 2 chances. 6 out of his 7 long balls, 4 shots, 2 out of 2 dribbles. This guy's going to be available for the cheap, and I genuinely think he's got talent. Ajax Academy, I think it'd be perfect. Obviously, Frankie de Jong would be number 1 on that list of slotting in, but there is options out there. Branco van der Boomen could be one. Let's sort of cycle back to the actual game Man United have got against Leeds. I think the big thing for United is controlling Leeds in that opening part of the game. Fred being far more responsible, and United using that pace in behind. Nonto was superb against Manchester United. Thought it was a real threat. The midfield of McKennie and Tyler Adams has been just so dirty. It's such a filthy midfield. It's tackles, aggression, housery. It is really good. And I've really liked Jack Harrison's central role as well. Not only is he super intense in a possession perspective, but he can drift to those wide areas and create things. So something United need to be very aware of is his drifting to the wide areas. And they really need to cover that defensive midfield area. I think that's the thing for Manchester United. It's arguably changing the build-up and going 3-2 and maybe throwing Delo higher in the attacking shape. Or Luke Shaw, dependent on which side the ball is, that wing back goes into an attacking area. The other one creates the back 3. United sit 2 holding midfielders because that breaks Leeds' press. Leeds press with 3 players to cover 1 defensive midfield option. There's 2 defensive midfield options there. Leeds have to commit more bodies forward, which means if United play an out ball, they'll be at Leeds' defence. Which I think will be massively important in this match. Guys, score predictions, one of the best games in the Premier League this season for me in terms of the technical and tactical quality. 2-2 at Old Trafford. The rematch this weekend in the Premier League. Manchester United go to Ellen Road to face Leeds, in a ground that they've kind of enjoyed recently. The 4-2 win. Great performance from Bruno Fernandes. From Jadon Sancho. I think Sancho left, Rashford through the middle, Bruno at 10, and then hopefully Anthony on the right or Garnacho on the right would be my selection. But yeah, score predictions, come in, get them in right now, guys. I'm probably going to go with a 4-2 Manchester United win. I think it's going to be a popper of a game. Real popper of a game. But do get into the chat and let me know. Thoughts on Martinez holding midfielder? No. No. Need him at centre-half. He's got to be at centre-half. The central midfield area is so different to playing centre-back. The game's in front of you at centre-back. I love what Martinez does with the ball from that position. That's what I'd go with there. Amrabat, no, I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United in the possession perspective. But yeah, score predictions, guys. I'm going to go 4-2. AKL's in the chat's going to go 3-1 to Manchester United. Radu's going to go 3-1 United. Rashi with another one. Jack, leave Weghorst and Pelly out from the start. So if Anthony's not fit, I'd go with Pellistri. I think United need some pace up front through the middle. Leeds were far too aggressive on United. United need to have a threat in behind from the start. Hence why I think Rashford through the middle could be a big one. Going to miss Leisha playing centre-back against Barca. We are massive miss. But Jack, yeah, definitely go Rashi, Sancho, Anthony front 3 from the start for me. But yeah, thanks for your score predictions. Let's finish things off with the Merseyside derby on Sunday. On Monday, sorry. Liverpool versus Everton. Liverpool are in an absolute mess. News coming out today is Thiago has picked up an injury, so he will miss the game. Thiago, injury prone when Liverpool signed him. Not replacing him in the short to medium term has been a big, big issue for Liverpool. I think from that and then building their side out, there is still huge concerns. I still think you need to see Trent in midfield. I think that is a solution that needs to be tried this season. Liverpool's midfield has been so poor this season that throwing someone like Trent in there, I think would be a help. The good news for Liverpool is that Jota and Van Dijk are back in training. That would allow Trent to be playing in midfield and Joe Gomez at fullback. So there's a few concerns for Jurgen Klopp from an injury perspective. Again, Diaz has been out for so long. Arthur's hardly, not played. Kanate's out. Firmino's out. Van Dijk's been out. Thiago's out. Fabinho's out. Jota's been out. It's been big. It has been really big. But I think with a big thing with Everton, that performance against Arsenal was brilliant. The compactness of their midfield, the aggression of their midfield as well was big. And I think they created some good chances. The chances they created from the wide areas for Calvert-Lewin is going to be a concern. Liverpool have looked awful when dealing with crosses. Liverpool have looked awful when dealing with direct challenges. One of the most crazy stats I found this week, Liverpool have got the second worst record from an expected goals conceded since the World Cup in the Premier League. They're second worst in the league, which is pretty crazy. One man that needs to step up, we've seen this, we said this over and over again, Darwin Núñez expected goals is at 3.47, and he scored no goals since the restart in the Premier League, which has been a big, big concern. He needs to start putting his chances away. He really does. Or when Jota comes back, he's going to be number one, which could be a really good option for fantasy football. Any fantasy players in the chat. But Liverpool really struggling to defend. They're also struggling to score goals. They've only scored 34 goals this season in the league, and they are massively underperforming their expected goals. Again, since the World Cup, they've underperformed their expected goals by 5.53. Only Chelsea have it underperformed by more. Darwin Núñez, is missing chance after chance after chance. Some stats that we've previously looked at in terms of big chances missed. Salah and Núñez this season have been guilty of missing chances. And Salah for himself has not scored a goal in any of his last 5 Premier League games. His longest goalless run in the league since March 2021. And obviously Núñez in all comps, 1 goal in 8 since the World Cup. We're looking at Wout Weghorst has got more goals for Liverpool in the Premier League since the World Cup with 2, and they were both own goals. So, there's a big problem there. And Everton will be the team that are very much be looking to unlock the door and, give them the pasting in the derby. It's going to be at Anfield. It's going to be rocking. The last few games have gone the way of Liverpool, but I think this is one that Everton, with that midfield, with the aggression from the start, with how they played and how they defended against Arsenal with Sean Dyche at the helm, could be big. The counter to that is Sean Dyche's only won 2 out of his 14 games against Klopp, whilst he was Burnley manager. So there's a big concern there for them in that sense. But you probably back that midfield to win the midfield battle. Really, really tough. AK in the chat. AK Hill, in the chat. Everton will suffocate Liverpool with their set pieces for sure. Dyche, ball rolling, absolutely. But guys, I think it's going to be a good game on Monday. Do get your score predictions in for this match, and then we'll ride into the night. We will ride into the night. Any other news that's come through as well, do make me aware of it. Let's have a little look, see if anything's gone. Do get your score predictions in. I am actually going to go for an Everton 1-0 win. By the way, guys, Everton 1-0. I think that's it's just what's happening at the moment with Liverpool Football Club. They're in massive, massive free fall, and Klopp does need to stop it. It does very reminiscent of that season at Borussia Dortmund, where they were in the relegation zone. That's what it feels like right now. It's too easy to score against them. Their press is completely, broken right now. All over the place. Has Parachichi been banned? I think Parachichi might have taken a ban. Oh, could face a worldwide. Parachichi might get a worldwide ban from football. Bit dodgy for Spurs. Anyway, let's get back into your score prediction for this. 0-0. 0-0. Era to come to an end in there. And no one's scout saying we're going to play Wan-Bissaka on Sunday. Could be because Delo's only come back from injury, so could be a good option there. Nonto had a bit of a, good game. Could be a good way to play against it. One from Radu. Manchester United have told Marcel Sabitzer that there's a chance he could earn a long-term contract. Yeah, I think so. I think he needs to continue playing well, and he probably will get it. But good, guys. Good score predictions. Great for today. Lovely for all of you wonderful people for sticking by and jumping into the stream. We're back next Friday, of course, at 12:30. Big GGs. Much love. And we will see you all very, very soon. GG's in the chat. Check out SofaScore as well. And we'll be back very, very soon on the Statman Dave Clips channel. Much love, my friends. Much love.